Hello and welcome to a special edition of Channel 6 Scoreboard. Today I'm joined by Zach Hayes from My Fountain Online and AJ Harper from Channel 6 Sports. And today we'll just be discussing various topics around the UCA football world and the UCA men's basketball world. So let's get it started with the football team. The Bears won their first FCS playoff game. How big of an experience was that for the players of this team and the university and the program itself?
I think it was very important for the program. I think it'll do a lot to help build this program to becoming competitive, at least in the FCS Division 1AA. I think that the experience for the players that will be returning for the years to come, I think that's going to mean more to them than anything. Playing in the playoffs, getting that first win under your belt, only second year eligible. I think that's the most important thing from the playoffs, getting that win, because they'll come back and they'll know what to do, next season if they make it to that point. They'll know how to prepare. They know what to expect. So I think that it's big for the program to build upon, but I don't think that they can cap themselves now. I don't think that they can say this is their, mountaintop. This is where they're trying to reach. I think they have to continue.
Yeah, I think it was a great way to send off the seniors from this team. They were juniors last year in their first season of eligibility. I think it's really great for them that while they were at UCA, they were able to play in an important game in the FCS playoffs. I also think that it really sets up well for the future. It will help with recruiting. If UCA is able to capitalize on this, continue gaining momentum throughout the years, continue making appearances in those playoffs, because you know what kid doesn't want the opportunity at a postseason? Sending those seniors off, having something for the juniors to come back to next year, and setting up for the future, I think it was a great experience for this team.
Right. I mean, there was definitely, you could feel an excitement, kind of a buzz around campus that we haven't really felt around here before. People were excited about the team. They were excited about the playoffs. They went to Tennessee Tech and they got the win, which was a big win. And although they did get it, they did not play well against Montana. Montana was just a really good, solid, fundamental team. But they did get that win in the playoffs, which I think is the most important thing for this team moving forward. Like you said, to help with recruiting, to help with, this university really rallying around this team going forward. So let's stick with the football team here. The offensive side of the ball, obviously Nathan Dick was the MVP. Yep. But other than Dick, who would you guys pick as the MVP of the offense?
I think I would have to go with Jesse Grandy. I think just from an explosive standpoint, what he brought to our team, even when the defense was keying on him, which they did, it was very obvious he would have games where he would have 1, 2, 3 catches because it was hard for him to get open. He was always able to get the one play, the one big play. Even in the loss against Montana, he got loose for one play and then scored a touchdown. He did it all season long. Just the explosiveness in the punt return and kick return, just having him back there, I would have to say, other than Nathan Dick, he brought the most to our offense this year.
I would agree. Jesse Grandy, other than Nathan Dick, probably had the best year on the offense. I think that the biggest thing was having, Dominique Kroom and some of the other receivers to back him up, because, as you mentioned, he didn't get many looks, sometimes because he was being double-teamed. He was being focused on, keyed in on. And so I think that the rest of the receiving core and maybe the offensive line really played a key part in Jesse Grandy and Nathan Dick being able to connect for some of those big plays.
Right, I'm going to have to go with something completely different than you two.
Okay.
I think the offensive line as a whole, those guys never received the recognition that they deserve, but I really think in this case, they were extremely undervalued on this team. If you went through and looked at the stats, every game in and game out, Nathan Dick was not, one sack in a game was rare for this offensive line to give up. And they played tremendous throughout the season. Usually, you'll have a sack, 2 sacks, 3 sacks every game, but this team, they'd go games, they'd go stretches without giving up a sack. So I think that you have to give those guys all the credit in the world, because although Nathan Dick did know this offense very well, the offensive line was the one keeping him upright, allowing him to hit Jesse Grandy, Dominique Kroom, those guys.
Well, and it really shows, too, when you have a quarterback like Nathan Dick and other explosive receivers, what that can do for your program when you're able to keep a guy like that upright. And, we saw that with 8 straight victories and making an FCS playoff run. That's a lot of a tribute to the offensive line and keeping them upright and allowing this offense to move down the field and continue with the football.
Well, let's look at defense. Who was the defensive MVP? I don't think there was, we had Nathan Dick on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively, I don't think there was one guy that you could say was the definitive MVP. So who do you guys have?
I'm going to have to go with Seth Allison. He's a 5'11", 198-pound kid. Never going to be the biggest kid on the field, but always going to be the kid with the biggest heart. He had 65 solo tackles. He assisted on 45 for over 100 total tackles on the year. He had 15.5 tackles for a loss, which led the team. He was second on the team in sacks. I think just anytime there was a big play, Seth Allison was around the football this year. I had a chance to see him play. He was a senior at Stuttgart. He did the same thing. He just brings an element that on the defense, you don't want to throw to his side, or you definitely don't want to run to his side, because he's going to have his helmet in there.
He's just one of those guys that's a football player.
Yeah.
I mean, Seth Allison, he probably had the most impressive season on paper, but I think the most important player on that defense this year had to be Justin Love, because there were multiple games in a row in the middle of that streak, that 7-game winning streak, where he picked off a pass at the very end of regulation with, a minute, 2 minutes left in the game and sealed the deal, or, picked off a pass that led to UCA scoring. So I think that he was definitely the most clutch defensive player of the year. Seth Allison, 110 tackles, he did it all. He forced 4 turnovers, so he was a very great asset to this team. But I think Justin Love was the key person. He had 75 tackles for a cornerback. Had 5 interceptions on the year. He did it all. He was tackling in the running game. He was playing the passing game. He was picking the passes off, breaking them up, and he was very clutch. So I think that I would pick him as the MVP of the defense this season.
I don't think you can go wrong with either of those guys. Both are extremely exciting to watch. They're both really lock down that secondary, and you could see that opposing teams really had trouble throwing on UCA's secondary when they ran off those 8 straight. So sticking with exciting players, who is your most exciting player to watch for coming back next year?
Mine would probably be one of those 2 guys we just mentioned. Seth Allison and Justin Love are both going to be coming back next season. Seth Allison will be a senior. Justin Love will be a junior next season. And so I looked for a lot out of both of them. I think that Justin Love might be able to surprise people. I think he'll get a little bit better in pass coverage. I think that he'll end up with more interceptions next season than he had this year. And I look to see him stay strong in the running game and still get those 75 or more tackles. So I think Justin Love is who I'm really looking forward to for 2 more years.
I'm gonna flip the script, and I'm gonna look at the offensive side of the ball. As far as we know, there's no quarterback competition coming back. It should be Winrick Smothers running this offense. Yep. We're talking about an offense with Winrick Smothers, Jesse Grandy, Dominique Kroom. There's gonna be a lot of speed on this offense next year, and I think we're gonna have to turn around and run a different offense next year, because the Nathan Dick offense doesn't work for every quarterback or for every team. But I think if the coaching staff is able to use the speed that they're going to have between the quarterback and the receiver, maybe use Jesse Grandy a little bit more in the running game, in the slot game, anything like that, I think we're going to have an explosive offense next year for sure.
Well, while we're talking about adjustments that are going to have to be made to the offense, it's Coach Conk that's going to have to make those adjustments. But there's recently been some news that he might be receiving interest from FBS schools. Do you think that he wants to stay here at UCA and continue to build on what he's done the last couple of years, or do you think if he keeps receiving this interest from FBS schools that he will leave and go somewhere else?
I think that when you garner the success that Coach Conk is building, and he had great teams when you go back to 2008 and the Nathan Brown team that we talked about last week, I think those rumors are always going to be out there. Those FBS schools are always going to be knocking on the door. But I think he will stay here and continue to build. Why would he not? He's been here for 12 seasons. I think he will stay here and continue to build on what he's doing. He's going to have a great team again next year. I think, there are always going to be those rumors. I think we'll just have to ultimately end up seeing what he does. But I think he'll stay here and continue his success and build UCA to an FCS powerhouse.
I am not going to completely disagree with that. I think that there is a good chance that he stays and continues to progress this program. If there's a season he's going to leave, though, this would be the year. He's coming back. He's going to have to revamp the whole offensive, like the playbook, you know, because Winrick is not going to be Nathan Dick. So he's going to have to do all of that. He's receiving a lot of attention because UCA did play so well this year. He has had a history of some good teams here at UCA. So I think that he's interested in pursuing greater opportunities maybe. I would be interested to see if he would take a job as an offensive coordinator maybe, or a coordinator or any kind of coordinator at a FBS school as opposed to a head coaching job here. I don't think he'll do it, but I do think he will be tempted and he'll give it a lot of thought.
So if he does stay, if Conk stays, do you see the Bears becoming an FCS powerhouse?
I see them being in the top 15 here and there, you know, pretty often. I do not see us becoming see UCA becoming a top 5 every year, you know, powerhouse, as you would say. I don't see them being the next Appalachian State. We just don't have there aren't enough athletes coming to Conway. There are a lot of Texas guys. There's a lot of Louisiana guys. There are a lot of athletes, but I don't see the talent there enough. I know that a lot of the programs that are powerhouses in the FCS right now have built that over years. Yeah. You know, they've taken homegrown talent, very blue chip recruits, you know, a lot of blue chip recruits. So I don't think that would happen here. I think Conk would, you know, stay a couple years, and I think they'd be successful, but I don't see them becoming a powerhouse now.
Yeah, not immediately. You think about the Montana team that they played last week, 21 playoff appearances. They've been building this and 2 national titles to boot for that. They've been building this program for years. We are just now getting our feet wet in it. But I do think they will be a dangerous team and a team that nobody will be able to overlook, especially next year if Winrick is our guy, just because of what I mentioned earlier about his ability to extend plays. He'll obviously work on the passing in the offseason. His running will always be there. I don't see him being a powerhouse, you know, next season or the year after, but if they continue and the deeper they go in the playoffs, the more appearances they have in the playoffs, the more talent that will want to come to UCA. If you win the Southland Conference next year and after a couple of seasons, I think it will take more building, but I do see them in the future becoming an FCS powerhouse.
Well, here's what I like about UCA's situation is this was only their second year of postseason eligibility after moving up to, you know, Division I AA. So they haven't been there like Montana has. They haven't been, and they're already in the playoffs, and they beat Tennessee Tech. Granted, they weren't able to stay on the same field as Montana. Montana, I mean, they are obviously a much better program at this point, but UCA hasn't had that recruiting tool. They haven't been able to say we're Division I for that long. So they haven't been able to get the guys in here that they've wanted to get. Now, I think moving forward with this impressive win against Tennessee Tech on their resume now, when you go out to talk to recruits, hey, we're a Division I program now. We made some noise in only our second season. That could get you, along with Coach Conk's, you know, he's got a very quarterback-friendly offense. Yeah. And going out recruiting quarterbacks, that's big. Look at Nathan Dick. My guy threw for 3,300 yards, 40, you know, high 30s, low 40s touchdowns. That's a very attractive situation for a quarterback.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, come here for the next 4 years, build with us, and see where you can take us. That attracts a kid.
Right. Well, the problem is that he had a great talent, Nathan Dick. You know, coming out of high school, he was one of the more highly touted players in the country. So, you know, is he going to be able to get that type of quarterback, that arm in this system that he needs? Because he does. If he wants to recreate the success he had this year, he has to have an arm. I don't see a running offense being the centerpiece of UCA's football program and it lasting very long. So he has to go out and get that talented quarterback that he's going to need for this offense. And if he can do that on a year-to-year basis, then I think that they can be great. But
and I'm 100% positive they can. He recruited Nathan Brown. He recruited Zach Clark. Nathan Dick, you know, he just kind of fell in everybody's lap, and then, you know, you see what he did for us. But Conk does have the ability to recruit a quarterback that can get us where we need to go.
Exactly, to your point, it's becoming a trend now. It's that, it's great quarterback after great quarterback after great quarterback. So who wants to come be the next great quarterback here at UCA? Well, there's definitely a lot up in the air for the Bears this offseason. Well, that wraps up our discussion for football. For now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk Bears basketball. Stay with us.